Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. Hey, Kurt, I've got a problem, man. My I can't get my mouse to connect to my computer. I got two of them here, and neither one will connect. I said, well, is my battery low or what? It's just not connecting. Ah,
Oh man.
frustrating, man. I'm going to Bluetooth settings. I'm saying, search. Got it turned on.
Oh,
I had it plugged in, trying to charge it up on the quick. Oh, here's one. Okay.
here's one.
All
Okay.
right. There we go. Don Daniels mouse. Connect. There we go.
There
Listen,
we
man,
go.
as soon as you come on, things start working right.
I'm glad, man. I'm glad.
Because if I got to have a mouse.
You have to. You have
Yeah.
to.
So let me. So okay. It is it. Uh-oh. It was searching, but it stopped.
Oh no.
Okay. When I click connect, it wouldn't. Let's see. All right. So let me turn the Bluetooth off. Listen, if you guys got any ideas for me, so we're gonna get I promise you we're gonna get started. I got Troy in here,
Get
I
in there.
got Chandra in here, I got Cora, I got Janice, and to start inviting some folks in. But if you're thinking about getting a mortgage, all right, or go ahead and put a number one in the chat. Okay, all right. So put a number one in the chat. So somebody from says welcome, welcome everyone. That's us
That was me.
typing.
Yeah, that's me.
Okay. All right. So go ahead and put a number one in the chat if you want to know more about what it means to get a mortgage and those. So we're going to start out with some things this morning, but I got to get my mouse connected because it's just so much easier to do this when, okay, Bluetooth settings. All right, we're searching and I'm turning my mouse on and off. I got both of them. I want to see which one connects first. All right, connect to Don Daniels mouse. All right, there we go. There we go. Connected. Ah, got one.
Good.
We are good to go, ladies and gentlemen. All right, all right. Look at see, this is the mouse that's working. We got some folks in here that are watching us live. All right, so Kurt, we're gonna jump right in. We're gonna jump right in. All right. So listen, let me tell you. Can I tell you guys a quick story about somebody that was single mom, um, looking recently divorced. Okay, recently divorced, and they had to sell the house. They had to sell the house. So now single mom is living in an apartment with with her daughter, and she wanted to be in a house. Wanted to be in a house, and because she was used to that, and her daughter, I wanted her daughter to have that experience. So she was thinking, I can, based on what I see here, I should be able to get into a house in 3 years. And I said to her, who told you that? She said, well, when I was studying it and I'm looking at my finances, I'm looking at my credit score and all of that, and I figure I can get everything turned around and ready to get into a house in 3 years. Okay. And I said, yeah, no, you don't want to try to figure that out on your own. Get a professional. Go ahead and write it down, everybody. Go get pre-approved. Go get pre-approved. If you're looking to get into a house, go get pre-approved. If you've been on your job a year or 2 years, if you've got some money in the bank, if you're doing well financially, if you can pay all of your bills, and especially if you are paying rent and you want to be able to get into a house, go get pre-approved. Now, they'll say, well, Don, what if I don't get approved? What if they can't pre-approve me? Then here's what's going to happen. If you're working with somebody local, all right, somebody that you trust, what they're going to do is say, listen, their income depends on you getting pre-approved. So what they're going to do is give you a track to run on. You need to do A, B, C, and D. They're going to tell you exactly what to do and exactly what not to do to get yourself pre-approved so that you can get that home that you're looking for. Do not, all right, do not disqualify yourself. It is not good to disqualify yourself. Let somebody else tell you no. Don't tell yourself no. Listen, folks, does that make sense to you? If that makes sense to you, put something in the chat right now. All right. Put a number 9 in the chat. If that makes sense to you, don't disqualify yourself. Go get pre-approved. And then if something should not be right, you want to know what that is. All right. You want to know exactly what it is. Cora Williams says number 9. All right. You want to know exactly what it is you need. And you can't know. Ladies and gentlemen, if we don't learn anything else today, we think we know how this game is played. I don't know how we got there. I don't know what possessed us. And I'm talking about all of us. We've never had a class on how a mortgage works. We've never been to, we've never got a class on. Sharon Jones says number 9, watching us on YouTube. Listen, if you've never been schooled on any of this process, what makes us think we can diagnose ourselves in this thing? Go to someone who says, I have a vested interest in you getting approved. Okay? Then if you do that, then you will listen. Let me finish this story about this young lady. Do you know she went out just to see what she needed to get going? And guess what? She found out she got approved. She got approved and then started working with a realtor. 3 months later, not 3 years, 3 months later, she is in her new home with her daughter. Look who is joining us today. Good morning. Good morning. All right. So listen, come on, listen, raise your hand, come to the stage. I don't, you all just sitting in the audience. Come on, come up to the stage and let's talk about this. Let's talk about this. So number one, don't disqualify yourself. Go get pre-approved. That's one thing you must do in getting a mortgage. Get pre-approved. And if you can't get approved, you need to know exactly what you need to get pre-approved, and they'll give you a track to run on. And I guarantee you, 9 times out of 10, it's not as bad as you think. Really, not as bad as you think. So don't disqualify yourself. Okay. So now the next thing, this is number 2. So we did number 1, get pre-approved. Number 2, learn proper mortgage terms. Learn proper mortgage terms. So we're going to put some things up on the screen. All right. So let me first start with the word mortgage. Mortgage is the money you borrow. So when you're making your mortgage payment is the money you borrow. All right. So let me get this on the screen, and so that you guys can see what I'm doing here. Share this screen. There we are. Share. There it is. Okay. So we're going to put this $200,000 mortgage in here. All right. So here are the mortgage. Here are the mortgage, some mortgage terms. Okay. So first of all, the word mortgage. Mortgage has to do with the money you borrow. Now it's made up of 2 root words, mort and gauge. Gauge means pledge. Okay. And then mort means death. Now, there are some people out there that says if you have a mortgage, it's meant for life, and it means that the pledge is for life. All right. So gauge means pledge, and mort means death. So you're going to die with this thing. That's what they're talking about. That's not what it means. Okay. A mortgage is a pledge you've made to someone else to pay back the loan. And once the loan is paid back, the loan dies. It's dead. That's what mortgage really means. So look it up. Don't let anybody tell you what the two root words of mortgage actually mean. The pledge is I promise to pay. All right. And then when you've paid it off, the pledge is actually dead, is no longer existent. All right. Our contractual agreement has ended. All right. That's the word mortgage. Now, let's take a look at other parts of the mortgage. We're talking about the principal and the interest. The principal of the mortgage is the money you borrowed. That's the money you are required to pay back. The interest is something that you give to the lender because they are in business and they figured out that here's how much interest you need to pay on this. Now, I need you to listen to this very, very closely. Interest is nothing more than rent on your money. Okay, start inviting some people in here right now because you all need to hear this. Rent on your money. Now, we go from renting an apartment or renting a house to renting money our entire lives. That's the way the system is set up. But we're going to talk about what you need to know to understand the system so that you don't rent money for your entire lives. But that's what it's all about. So the rent is something that is not mortgage. Mortgage is something that you borrowed. That's the contract. Okay. You borrowed the money. So a mortgage payment has to do with the money that you're borrowed and paying back. So if you borrow $200,000, okay, you have to pay back $200,000 plus interest. But in this case, I want to break this down for you. This is a $200,000 mortgage at 6%. The interest for the life of the loan is $231,676. Here's what you need to know. Of the two words, the $200,000 must be paid back. But the $231,000 that the bank is looking for, you are in control of how much of that you pay. You do not have to pay that. What you have to pay back is the $200,000 that you borrowed. You don't have to pay back the $231,000 that they're looking for. So when it comes to your obligation, when it comes to the mortgage payment really is the amount that you borrowed. Now, let's take a look at how this loan breaks down. I'm going to put my, if you want to see what we're doing, you need to go to YouTube. If you have a secondary device, go to YouTube so that you can see these numbers. Okay. Go to YouTube so you can see these numbers and search P.I.L.L method. So, Kurt, if you could get that link for me, and let me see if I can, go ahead and pull it up on my phone. We'll get the link, or if you can get it and put it in there for me. All right, great. So what we're looking at, ladies and gentlemen, you go to YouTube and you can see this. Now on this mortgage, $199.10 goes to principal. And I'm just looking at the principal part. The principal part is what you are paying back. The principal part is what you're paying back. And the interest is the amount of money that they're charging you as a contractual agreement. They're going to charge you interest always on the unpaid balance. Okay. All right. So listen, I've got the link here, ladies and gentlemen. All right. So let me copy the link for you. All right. And I'm going to put it at the top of the page. All right. We're not going to put my 10K card up there first. We're going to put the link to our YouTube at the top of the page. There we go. Link it in, paste it in. There you go. That's why I like, I'll tell you what, I like my Apple products, my computer, my iPad, my iPhone, all of that, my Mac, because I can copy on one device and paste it to another. I love that. I love the ability to do that. So right now we're talking about 7 things you must do when getting a mortgage. If you want to see these numbers, take a look at this. All right. So I need you to take a look at the principal side. Look at the principal side. $199, $200, 201, 202. This is how much you're paying back on your loan. All right. The principal is what you borrowed. The interest is rent on your money. Okay. You have complete control over how much interest you pay. I mean, really, you don't have to pay all of that interest. So so people ask me, so Don, you talk about prepayment and paying off the loan early. And then they'll use a term, they'll say, how do I pay down the interest? You can't pay down interest. Write it down. You can't pay down interest. You can only pay down principal because principal is what you borrowed. You can save interest that you don't need to pay, but you can't pay down interest. So when you are looking at this loan, the principal, these numbers over here on the left, under the word principal, look at your small principal payments and look at these large interest payments. Okay, and the interest payments is what the bank hopes to be able to get from you. All right, we may get a chance to talk about how not to pay that, but you want to learn the proper terms. Interest rate. Okay, interest rate has to do with what the bank is using as a multiplier in figuring out how much interest you owe them every month. Okay, interest rate has to do with how do they multiply or how do they use this in their formula to figure out how much interest you should pay every month you have their money. Okay, but interest cost is not a word that we're taught, but interest rate has to do with how much you're going to pay each month based on the math. So if you have a credit card that's 27%, okay, now I heard this on the news the other day, which I thought was absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. On the news, they were talking about that your credit card interest rate can be 3, 4, 5 times as much as your mortgage interest rate. Therefore, pay off that credit card because it's killing you. Okay? How many have heard that? If you have heard that, put a number 1 in the chat. Put a number 1 in the chat if you've heard these high interest rates on the credit card are worse than the interest rate on the mortgage. Therefore, you should be paying off the credit cards first. All right? How many have heard that? Okay? There's a 3, 4, 5 times as much. So that could be true. Now, here's the thing. If you have an interest rate on a credit card at 27%, interest rate on the card at 27%, I'm going to show you this. So I need you to see this that I'm getting ready to put on the screen right now. I'm putting on a $10,000 credit card at 27%. Now, nobody wants that, but some people have that. And what you don't know is that the term that all credit card companies use to figure out how much interest you're going to pay is 240 months, not 360 months. They use a term of 20 years, not 30. So it's 240 months, all right? So now the interest on this is 27%, but the interest cost on this for this first month is $226 and $225. $225 is the first interest cost on this loan. As opposed to, I've got a 6% mortgage over here, but it's on $200,000. My first interest payment is $1,000. $1,000. 6% over here, 27% over there. Do you want to know what this really means? 27% means 2.25% a month. Okay, 2.25% a month. And when you add it all up, it's 27% a year. So 27% sounds bad, but that's the interest rate. That's the APR. Okay, that's the APR. So annual percentage rate is 27%, but the monthly percentage rate is 2.25%. That's why when you have a $10,000 card, you're only paying $225. So the experts are out there teaching you. Come on, let's start inviting some people in here because you need to understand these terms. Okay. We're talking about 7 things you must know, 7 things you must do when getting your mortgage, and understanding the terms is one of those things. And nobody's teaching it. You're learning it right here today. Okay. Come up to the stage. I say Steve came up to the stage. Everybody else, Karan, you need to come up here too. All right. And Sharp, you need to come up. Just raise your hand. You don't have to say much. You can just say hello. Okay. And I got, and you know, and yet I have a hard time pronouncing your name. Anyete. Oh boy. Please come up to the stage and help me to pronounce your name correctly. But come up to the stage and you can just sit there if you like. You don't have to say much if you don't want to. Sharper's coming up. Okay, invite her up and invite her up. All right, there you go. All right, so I'm inviting you all up. Got Sharp up here. All right, and there you go.
Good morning, everybody in the room.
Good morning. How are you?
Well, just in listening mode, when I heard my name, I'm eating breakfast, watering the plants, and getting ready for a meeting all at the same time.
Well, listen, thank you for being
this
here.
This is a fantastic room. And folks, especially for those that are coming in for the first time, I'm saying listen fast. And the important thing is act on the information that you're hearing. It's mind-blowing, it's life-changing. That's it for now. I have to run, but I'm back to listening.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for the invitation to come up.
You are so welcome. And because people, you have 1,000 followers, they've just been notified that you're on this stage and you're helping to build the room just by sitting here. Thank you so much for being here. All right. So we have, all right, now go ahead and help me to pronounce your name right.
You said it perfectly, Don. You said it, Aniete. You said it perfectly.
Aniete. Okay.
That's right. Yep. Like we've been talking every day. You did perfect.
How are you doing?
Good morning. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much for being here. And your 1,200 followers have been notified that you're on this stage. Do you have a question or a comment about what we're talking about today?
No, good stuff. I mean, I'm
Okay.
in the industry, so I appreciate the breakdown and the definitions and, just telling and explaining how that works. So I always learn something every time I step into your space. So thank you for the invite.
You are so welcome. Listen, and stand by. If I do say something that sparks a question or comment, please jump right in. All right, ladies and gentlemen,
Absolutely.
Here we go. So now I need you to understand why this is important and stop listening to the so-called experts, especially when you hear something on the news when it comes to your credit cards to just scare you out of your wits. Okay. So we have a credit card situation where it's 27%. And the experts are telling you if you have a 6% mortgage, all right, that's almost your credit card interest rate is almost 5 times what your mortgage interest rate is. 5 times. Then that if you do the math like that, because 5 times 6 is 30. And you got 27% here. It seems high. It seems high, but nobody does the math to figure it out. So if we break this down, you take your 27% and divide it by 2, you get 2.25%. That's how much interest you're going to be charged that month, which is $225. Okay. So if we follow the experts, the Dave Ramseys, the Susie Ormans, what the gurus that are on TV, they said that one should go first. If you pay $10,000, if you have $10,000 and you pay that loan off, congratulations, you've paid off your credit card, you feel good, and they say you're saving a ton of interest. You just saved yourself $225 that month that you don't have to pay. $225. Okay. But if you put that $10,000 on your mortgage instead, on this $200,000 mortgage, you put that $10,000 on this $200,000 mortgage, look what it does. It knocks off 3 years and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 3 years, 9 months. 3 years, 9 months. And it saves you over 40 grand in interest. You just saved yourself $40,000 in interest by putting the $10,000 on the mortgage instead of paying off the card. So Don, so are you saying don't pay off the credit cards faster? No, I'm not saying that at all. But what I am saying is stop thinking that the interest cost on the credit card is more than the interest cost on your mortgage, because it's not. The interest rate is not interest cost. I hope you all are getting that. I hope that makes sense to you. Okay. So in my program, I show you when to put money on the credit cards and when to put money on the mortgage. But man, oh man, it's the interest that keeps you in debt forever. So if you just pay on this mortgage the way that the bank wants you to, over 45 months, over almost 4 years, you're going to pay that loan down by $10,000, but you're going to pay the bank $43,000 in interest. I guarantee you pay that card off. I don't care if you're just making minimum payments on that credit card at 27%. You're not going to pay $43,000 in interest. You're not. It's just not going to happen. Okay. The most you're going to pay on this card. All right. Let me see here. Well, in this case, you probably would. Okay. I take that back. All right. But listen, but it would take 20 years to build up to that much. 20 years. It only takes 3 years to pay that much interest on your mortgage. So what I'm saying is, folks, is this: learn your terms, learn what it means. There's interest rate, and then there's interest cost, and you need to know the difference. Okay. So what else do we have? What else do we have as far as terms are concerned? Make sure that when you are looking at your mortgage, you understand what mortgage is, the money that I borrowed, understand interest. You have control over how much interest you pay, understand interest rate, which is different from interest cost. Don't let that fool you. Okay. So learn your terms. When you're trying to save interest and prepay your mortgage. Okay. So prepayment means that you're going to give the bank money before it's due. That's what prepayment means. So when you're sitting in a closing and they show you the amortization schedule, all right? And we're going to go over those words as well. The amortization schedule, that's this schedule that I'm putting on the screen right now. They're going to lightly gloss over that, the amortization schedule. So when you're dealing with your amortization schedule and you see all this interest, you mean I got to pay all that? They're going to tell you you can prepay this mortgage and not pay all of that interest. And that's true, but they're just not telling you what it really means in terms of how much you can save. And hopefully we'll get a chance to talk about that. But understand this. Prepayment means once you make a full payment on a mortgage, you must make a full payment on a mortgage before you can prepay. It is not the same as a car loan or a credit card or anything else. But on a mortgage, you must make your full payment on your mortgage, and then you can give the bank money before it's due. When you give the bank money before it's due, it's called a prepayment because you're paying it before the due date. So let's say your mortgage is due on the 1st. You make your mortgage payment, and then before the 1st of the next month, even if you give the mortgage company $1 or your bank $1 that goes to principal, you just made it impossible for them to charge you interest. Even if you give them $1, you just saved $1 worth of interest. Okay. So any money you give them before it's due is called a prepayment. All right. And by understanding prepayment, you can save a lot of interest. But what you're not doing, you're not paying down the interest. You're paying down the principal, which saves you interest. I hope that makes sense, everybody. So listen, come to the stage. If you just want to sit on the stage, that's fine. If you have a red ticket, that means you're not a member of this house. Join the house, follow the moderators, and let's get to the next thing. So first of all, we talked about, let me see here. We'll talk about proper terms. All right. Mortgage, interest, principal, and interest cost, interest rate, and paying down principal, but not paying down interest. You can't prepay interest. You can save interest, but you can't prepay it. Okay. Let's learn. Now, the next thing you have to do is learn how to read an amortization schedule. And since I have it up, you need to learn how to read this thing. Okay. Learn how to read this thing. And let me tell you something about it. Get your own. You need to create your own amortization schedule. An amortization schedule really means this is a strategic way to pay back money that you owe monthly. You can pay monthly on this amortization schedule. And every time you pay, some money goes to principal and some money goes to interest. So that's just a way to pay. But every time you pay, a little more money goes to principal, a little less money goes to interest. So your amortization schedule is that schedule that maps out your payments. Now, let's understand it. All right. So if you're new to the room, go to the link at the top, copy it, put it on your other phone, your computer, or your iPad or tablet or whatever, so you can watch us on YouTube. I need you to, and also when you get to YouTube, please click on subscribe. All right, because we have over 240 shows up for you to watch. So now, amortization schedule. Let's learn how to read it. Okay, and I want you to be able to create your own. So go to brettwhistle.net. brettwhistle.net. That's BRET. I'm going to put it in the chat. Okay, BRET. Last name Whistle, WHISSEL, brettwhistle.net. All right. And you can create this amortization schedule for yourself. And you need something like this for a reason. Why do you need a reason? Sharon M. Jones says, I love that you make your own amortization schedule. That's right. You need to be able to make your own. Some people say, well, how do I get it? How do I get an amortization schedule? I have to call the bank. Now, when you get one in your mortgage packet, and most people get one in their mortgage packet, or when you call your mortgage company or your bank, they will send you one out in about 2 weeks. But by the time you get it, there's already it's already out of date. It's already no good. So you can make one anytime you want. So go to brettwhistle.net, and here's what you do. You put in your principal amount that you borrowed. All right. You put in your interest rate, you put in your term. If you have a 30-year mortgage, it's going to be 360. Okay. And then when you calculate, now this mortgage payment is $1,199.10. All right. So if I take this out and I want to show amortization schedule, I click that little box there, show amortization schedule, and then I click calculate. When I do that, I get my payment of $1,199.10. What if, watch this now, what if you had just 3 of the numbers and you wanted to know what the 4th number was? On this thing, you can take this out, the $200,000. All right. So I know what my monthly principal and interest payment. Do not put your whole mortgage payment in here if you are escrowing. And that's another term, escrow. Escrow means that you are giving the bank more than your mortgage payment so that they can pay your taxes and insurance for you. So what you're doing is you're adding your taxes and insurance to your mortgage payment. That money has nothing to do with the schedule. Nothing. That money is put in the bank for you in a savings account. And once it's put in that savings account, your mortgage company or your bank will take money out of that account and pay your taxes and insurance for you. Now, sometimes you can do that on your own. You don't need to escrow. All right. And most mortgages, you don't need to escrow. Some mortgages require it, that you escrow to make sure your taxes and your home insurance are actually paid. All right. And then they'll take care of that. But if you don't have to, find out if you have to do it or not, because here's what's happening. Every time you escrow, you're putting money in a savings account, in a bank account that pays you no interest. You're putting money in a bank account that pays you no interest, so that your bank or mortgage company can take that money and pay your taxes and insurance, usually once a year. Okay?
I do want to add, I know you said hop in. I know I'm in Texas, and to add to your list of definitions, we go by P.I.L.L, which is principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. And in this example, you're suggesting that we just use the principal and interest numbers only. Don't worry about the taxes and insurance, correct?
Exactly. Because taxes and insurance don't go into this calculator.
Okay. And for those that may be in the Texas or one of these states, a lot of times the taxes and insurance are one of the conditions to the loan approval. I know that here in Texas it is. So just wanted to
thank you so listen. I appreciate that. Okay. I mean, listen, add to the conversation. That's what we're talking about. But now that we know that taxes and insurance aren't in here, but I just wanted to tell you, now that we're talking about escrow, because we're talking about terminology. Do you realize that for every dollar a bank has on deposit, they can loan out 9 or 10? This is why banks love to do escrow, because that money is sitting there all year long and they pay it out once a year for you. But because you have it in there, it benefits the bank. So of course they love it when you escrow. All right. And listen, I'm not faulting them. I'm not blaming them. I'm just telling you what's really happening. So that term escrow refers to that. So excuse me, I have my principal and interest payment in here. And I want to know what my original principal was when I got the loan. When I calculate, it'll give me that number. Okay. 190. So actually it's $200,000 that I borrowed. All right. $200,000. So I have $1,199.10. And so I'm going to put in my $200,000. Okay. 200,000, one more zero. I'm going to take out 360. All right. I've got my $1,199.10. I got my 6% interest. I got my $200,000 principal. How many payments is that? When I calculate, it'll tell me how many those loans cannot be prepaid. What do you mean what I'm talking about? Oh, because I got 2 million. All right, so now let's calculate. So I didn't know the number of payments I have left. I've got 360 payments left. So what if you want to know if you owe less than 200,000? Let's say I owe 147,000 $234.78. Okay. Now, how many payments do I have left? You know your principal and interest payment, you know your interest rate, and you know how much you owe. How many payments do I have left? 191. You want to know how many? And so you say, oh, 191. I could take my 191 divided by 12, and it tells me how many years I have left. 15, almost 16 years left on this mortgage if I do this. So this tool is a great help. It is a great help, and you can create your own. And here's why you need to create your own. Let's go back to the $200,000 mortgage. $200,000 mortgage at 6%. I'm going to get my, man, I keep putting too many zeros in here. All right. $200,000 mortgage at 6%, 360 payments. There we go. And boom. Now let's take a look at the amortization schedule and why you need to create your own. When you get one from the bank, they're going to give you a schedule that says principal, interest, and principal balance. They're going to give you 3 columns only. All right. My niece is in here today. How are you doing, Christina? Are you at work? All right. Can you come up to the stage? You don't have to talk. All right. That's my niece, Christina. All right. So listen. So what we're doing, ladies and gentlemen, is understanding if you have an amortization schedule from your lending institution, you get 3 columns: principal, interest, and principal balance. The reason why I like Brett Whistle is because I get 2 additional columns: cumulative principal and cumulative interest. And here is what's interesting. Most people are aware of how much mortgage payment they have, what their mortgage payment is each month, and they get used to it. But they don't know how much principal is paid down and how much interest they pay over the life of the loan. Any month, if I'm just making the regular payments, any month I look at this thing, I can see how much interest I'm paying. So in 6 months on this loan, I've paid the loan down by, if I look at cumulative principal, how much interest, how much principal have I paid down? Remember, principal is the money you borrowed. How much of that money have I paid back in 6 months? $1,209.64. But how much interest have I paid the bank in order to do that? I can see it instantly. It's added up for me. $5,984.96. When people see this, it turns on all the lights come on when they're seeing exactly how much they're paying. And it's important for you to know how much you're paying. You will never get this from your bank. You will never get an amortization schedule that adds up for you all your interest and all your principal on the line. They won't do it. Okay. Because in the first year on this mortgage, total principal paid back on the loan is $2,456 and a penny. So in other words, you borrowed money from the bank, $200,000, and you've returned to them $2,456 and a penny that you borrowed. But they're going to charge you in order to pay them back $2,456 and a penny. And the total amount that they charged you is $11,933.19. I want to hear from everybody in the room. Put it in the chat. Do you all believe? Do you believe that $11,933.19 is too much to pay for $2,456 and a penny paid down on your loan? All right. Do you believe that? Yes or no? Do you believe almost $12,000 is too much to pay? Listen, if you're watching us online, let me know. Is this good to know? Is this good to know? How much interest you're actually paying in a year? You may not like to see it, but is it good to know? That's the thing. Okay. You may not like to see it, but in 2 years, let's take a look at this. In 2 years, I've paid the loan down by $5,000, but it cost me $23,000 in interest. Man, all that money I paid out, folks, that's $28,000 in the first 2 years paid out, 28 grand. Now, a lot of people that I talk to said, "Don, I don't make a lot of money. How do I do this?" I said, "Yeah, you do. You make plenty of money. It's just your money is going to the wrong place." Out of $28,000 here, you can see 23,000 of it went up in smoke. It went to somebody else. It's making somebody else wealthy. $23,000 it cost you in just 2 years to pay this loan down by $5,000. Sharon M. Jones says that's too much to pay. She's watching us on YouTube. Okay. 3 years, $7,800, $35,000. 5 years on this loan. 5 years, that's 60 payments. You have been successfully in your home for 5 years. And you're loving the home. You're doing everything you need to do. Inviting people over, having dinner parties. And the kids are playing in the front yard. You put a fence up. You got everything you're going on. Everything you're doing in this home is great. But in 5 years, you paid it down by $13,891.20, but you've given the bank $58,000 in interest. Okay, that's $72,000 paid out. $72,000 paid out in 5 years, but only $13,891.20. You need to have an amortization schedule that does this for you. You need to create your own today. Okay? Create your own amortization schedule today and learn how to read it. I'm going to give you just some basics in learning how to read it. Okay? Now, the first thing in learning how to read it, all right? So we've gone over two things already. This is compute monthly interest cost. We need to learn how to do that. Okay. All right. So first of all, we went over get pre-approved. That was number one, get pre-approved. Number two, learn your mortgage terms. Number three, read an amortization schedule. But to learn how to read an amortization schedule, we have to understand number four, which is how to compute monthly interest cost. Okay, and I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay, when we learn how to compute monthly interest cost, then we're going to learn how to read this thing so that it benefits us. I'm putting a calculator on the screen. Okay, our interest rate. Okay, here's what the bank is doing to figure out how much you owe them. Okay, this says 6%. But like I said before, that's the multiplier that's used to figure out interest cost. 6% ain't 6%. 6% is actually, if you let the bank do what they need to do here, you're going to pay back 115.838% of what you borrowed. More in interest than you borrowed in principal. What do they want on a $200,000 loan? They want $231,676 in interest. And it comes to right here, 115.838%. Let's put our calculator back up on the screen. So they take that 6%. Let me see here. Clear this out. 0.06. That's 6%. And then they divide that number by 12. Divide it by 12. It comes to 0.005. This is the number they use to multiply by the unpaid balance. So the first balance is $200,000. So they're going to take 200. So they're going to multiply that times 200,000 equals $1,000. That's the first interest payment. That's how they figure it out. So that means $199.10 of your payment goes to principal to pay down the loan. The $1,000 is rent that they charged you to pay back $199.10. Doesn't seem fair, does it? So you subtract the $199.10 from what you owe, you're left with $199,800.90 on the first line of your amortization schedule. So we're going to put back in our 0.005. Remember, how did we get that? We took 6% and divided it by 12, and we get 0.005. And now I'm going to multiply that by my first principal balance here, $199,800.90. So we're going to multiply that by $199,800.90 equals, okay, $999. Okay, $999 is your second interest payment. That's how they do it. Now, each time you do this, okay, your first mortgage payment was built on the $200,000. When you make your first payment, you no longer owe $200,000. Whatever you have left is your new mortgage amount. It's essentially a new mortgage. So $199,800. So they want to charge you 1/12 of the interest rate again next month. And then the month after that, and then the month after that. It's not 6% times $200,000 by any stretch of the imagination. And it's not compound interest. It's amortized interest. Compound interest means you pay interest on your interest. Amortized interest means this: every single month, I get to charge you on the unpaid balance. So it's not one mortgage, $200,000 times 0.06% times 6%, which is $12,000. That's if it was $200,000 times 6%, all the interest you would owe is $12,000. That's it. But it's not. They take 1/12 of the interest rate and multiply by the unpaid balance 360 times. If you let them charge you 360 times, you get a new mortgage every single month. And because of that, they're going to charge you every month. So it's not one mortgage, it's 360 separate mortgages. Boom. That's what you're doing. That's the first thing we need to know in reading it. Now, because they're charging so much interest, ladies and gentlemen, because they're charging so much interest, this is why you've never had a class on this, because they've chosen this system which charges interest on the unpaid balance. I listen, I need you all to really, really hone in on this. And I'm looking straight into the camera at you. If you're being charged on the unpaid balance every single month, then what all you have to do is make sure they don't get to charge you 360 times. They charge you 360 times, you're going to pay all that interest. How do you get it so that they charge you fewer than 360 times? I'm going to show you something that's quite simple. And it's so simple, it's mind-boggling. And this is why they don't teach this, not in high school, not in college, not in grad school. If you're a CPA, they don't teach you either. If you are a real estate agent, they don't teach you. If you are a loan officer that sells loans for a living, they don't teach you either. If you work at the bank, they're not teaching you any of this. If you own the bank, you understand all of it. But if you work at the bank, you don't. So do not take this information that you're learning from this live, or when you're hearing the replay, do not take this and call somebody at your bank or mortgage company and ask them if this is true, because the person who is answering the phone, you know more than they do about this subject already. Come on, ladies and gentlemen. Where else have you heard this before? So now that you've got this is why they don't want you to know. The system that they use will work for you if you know what to do. This is why you can't know. For them to make this kind of money every single month, you can't know how it works, because once you do, it makes a difference. Watch this. If I am paying, let's say I make my first mortgage payment in January, I've paid them their $1,000 in interest, $199.10 went to principal, and I can see because of this, they've already scheduled it out for me. So just pay us on time every month, and I'll give you a good credit score. Pay us on time every month, I'll give you a good credit score. Boom, that's what they're doing. So, but because of that, they've given me a schedule. My question to you is, do I have to follow their schedule? Put it in the chat. Do I have to follow their schedule? Yes or no? And Yete says, no, you don't have to follow their schedule. Okay. It says, Harry Walt says no. Eddie Joe says no. And Yete has a question. Should the borrower make the first payment after closing, even though it's not due till 45 days out? So, and Yete, let me tell you something. Because the payment is 45 days out, that does not mean it's free. There's 2 times in this mortgage that they charge you daily interest. That is before the first payment and when you request a payoff. They will charge you daily interest those 2 times. So for those 45 days, you are actually paying interest. She says, true. You're paying interest. So if you want to, you can prepay before and save yourself some of that interest that you don't have to pay. Now, most people don't. They'll take that reprieve and save. They say, well, I don't have a mortgage payment for 45 days, but they are charging you interest. Believe me, they're charging you interest during that time. So my niece says, what was that? She says, what was that second time? All right. The second time is when you're getting a payoff. Let's say I want to pay off my mortgage. So what is the payoff? And they'll say, okay, here's how much you owe, and here is your payoff amount. Okay. So if you say, okay, let's say your payoff amount is $150,200, $150,200. Okay. That's your payoff. But they're going to give you a payoff that's $150,200 plus some daily interest. So let's just say it's they're going to tack on about $50. Let's say they tack on $50, but they'll tell you that this payoff is good until a certain date because they've given you daily interest to that date. You go past that date, your payoff is no longer $150,250 because now they have to tack on some more daily interest. Your daily interest has just changed. So when they give you a payoff, they're going to tell you it's good till this date. You go past that date, we have to give you a new payoff. Does that make sense, everybody? So the only time you pay daily interest is on a mortgage is before the first payment and when you request a payoff. Now, why don't they do it? Why don't they do it the rest of the time? And I can tell you, it's easy to figure out. They don't charge you daily interest on your mortgage during the month when you actually start it. So What you're doing there is if you are late, okay, there you have a grace period of 15 days. 15 days. So if you don't, you can pay your mortgage on the 1st, or they can give you 15 days grace period, which means your mortgage is late after day 16. After day 16, that's the 1st plus 15 days. Okay. So if you're late, then they charge you a flat fee. That's it. So if you pay on let's see, the mortgage payments for September are coming up. They're usually due on the 1st. So you can pay it on the 1st, or you can pay it on the 16th, and they won't charge you a single dime extra. That's it. Pay it on the 17th. Now there's a fee. Now, here's the thing. If you pay it if you are late, come on now. I need you to focus in here, because you need to understand these terms and understand how this thing works. If you're late, you might as well take it all the way to day 30, because they're not going to charge you any more interest. I mean, day 29. Never be 30 days late, because then they can report you. Okay. Between the 1st and the 29th, you cannot be reported late, and the fee is only one amount. The fee between day 17 when you're late and day 29 does not change. It's the same amount. So if you need a little, if you need a little break, and sometimes we do, you have between the 17th and the 29th to make up your mortgage payment and pay the fee. But the fee does not grow because of daily interest. Does that make sense, everybody? All right. And Yete says some banks charge a percentage of the outstanding balance. Okay. Some of them do. Okay. Some of them do, but most don't. Some of them do, but most don't. Because see, some people are going to take this information that I just told you and take advantage of that. I tell you what, I had 4 mortgages. We just paid 2. Guess what I never do? I never pay my mortgage on the 1st. Never, ever, 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 ever do I pay my mortgage on the 1st. Why don't I pay my mortgages on the 1st? Because I can pay it on the 15th or the 16th and keep that money in my system, making money for me. Once I give it to them, they're making money on it. And it doesn't cost me any more to pay it on the 1st or pay it on the 15th. It doesn't cost me any more. But I get to keep my money working for me for 15 days. And when you're talking about a mortgage that I'm going to be keeping for 7 or 8 years, because we pay it off in the average of 7 or 8 years. If I'm going to pay that off, all right, then that money gets to work for me all that time. You got 15 days times 7, 8, 9, 10 years. That adds up. But when you give it to them on the 15th, on the 1st, it adds up for them, ladies and gentlemen. It adds up for them. So understanding that what we call the grace period, that's another term, the grace period. Okay. So now let's learn how to read this thing, because I promised you. February's payment is $200.10. $200.10. But based on the information that they gave me, I don't have to wait till February to give them the $200.10. If I pay my mortgage in January, I can give them the $200.10 early. And then I'm paid down to line 2 on my amortization schedule, because all $200.10 goes to principal. I now owe $199,600.80. And now they have to take 1/12 of the interest rate and multiply it by line 2, not line 1. If I take that, let's do it. My point, remember, I had 6%, 0.06 divided by 12 gives me 0.005. And now instead of this number, they have to charge me on this number, $199,600.80, which is, let's see, multiply by 199. Oh, I click 88. Come on, Don. Let's see. Delete. 199,680 equals 998. Look here. 998. So they have to charge me this one, which means they can't charge me this one, the 999. I just saved $999. I never have to pay. Not only that, but remember, they have me on a schedule of 360 payments, monthly payments. But because I gave them the $200 early, I now have 359 monthly payments instantly because I gave them the $200 early as a prepayment, because now I know how to read this thing. They wanted to charge me $999 to give them the $200.10. But because I gave it to them early, I get my $200 added to my principal for free. I just gave them the $200.10 and made it impossible for them to charge me interest. How about that? Now that I know how to read it. Because if you don't know how to read it, you're going to pay them all of that interest. So what if I did this? I gave them that money, and then I said, well, let me give them 3 of these. Let me give them 3 principal payments that they figured out already. 1, 2, 3. That's $603.30. I'm going to pay my mortgage payment and give them $600 and $603.30 because they've already figured it out for me. And then what happens? I don't have to pay the interest on line 2, line 3, line 4. That's almost $3,000 saved. And my next mortgage payment is on line 5. So my payment number 1 is now touching payment number 5 because I gave them the $200 they were looking for, and the 201.10 and the 202.10. I gave it to them early. And so I have just taken my mortgage payment from 360 payments, monthly payments. Now I only have 357 monthly payments because I gave them 3 payments ahead of time. How about that? So what does it mean to prepay? You make it possible for them to charge you fewer times when you prepay. This is why it's not taught what really happens when you prepay. Does that make sense, everybody? Learn how to read this thing. All right, what's next? Okay, create a budget. Do I have any questions or comments about what we've gone over so far? Okay, number 1, get pre-approved. Number 2, learn your mortgage terms. Number 3, learn to read an amortization schedule. And number 4, compute monthly interest cost. Okay, when you compute monthly interest cost, you can actually see how much they're charging and how much you don't have to pay. Oh, it's right there. Okay, I just saved nearly $3,000 in interest just because I gave them $600 early. Listen, you do that, you can literally figure out what your return on investment is. This is so good. All right, I see. Do I have any questions? No, I don't have any questions. We're going to move on to the next point. Number 5. All right, number 5. Create a budget for tracking, not for restricting. Create a budget for tracking your expenses. You're doing that not to restrict yourself, but you need to track how much money you're making and how much money you're spending. Do you know how many people I talk to on a regular basis? They have no idea how much money they're making. I ask them, how much money do you make? They have no idea. They just know it's put in the bank and they pay the bills. So if they don't know how much money they're making, they really don't know how much money they're spending. And if they don't know how much money they're spending, they don't know how much money is left over after all the bills are paid. That's called discretionary income. income that is under your full discretion on what you use it for. Now, when you have obligations, that's money that's obligated to do something. When you have discretionary money, that's money that you have the choice of how you spend it. Discretionary money. 99% of the people that call the P.I.L.L method they underestimate how much discretionary income they have. So, because that's one of the questions that we ask. How much discretionary income do you have? And they said, what if I don't have any? I hear that so much. We don't have any extra money. All right. Does anybody ever sing that song? I don't have any extra money. Put a number 5 in the chat if you know somebody who sings that song. You don't have to tell. You don't have to tell on yourself. Just tell me. I'm telling you for a friend. Put a number 5 in the chat. It says, I don't have any extra money. I'm living paycheck to paycheck. Put it in the chat. Okay. Deidre Hicks says, what's the difference between making a higher down payment on real estate versus paying extra early once you have it? Okay, we'll talk about that. All right, Deidre, we will talk about that. Just somebody remind me that I have a question on the floor. Okay, so you need to understand this for us. Just a second, ladies and gentlemen. So we're talking about budgeting and why it's important. You need to know how much you're making and how much you're spending to live so that you can compute your discretionary income. This lady said to me, I don't have any discretionary income. I asked her, can you pay all of your bills every single month? She said, yeah. I said, can you pay them without dipping into your savings? She said, yes. I said, can you pay out all of your bills every single month? And do you ever need to use a credit card to pay bills because you don't have enough money? She says, never. I said, well, you have discretionary income. She says, well, I don't see it. I said, here's what you do. I'm going to give you a budget sheet. I need you to fill this out. How much money goes to food? How much money goes to gasoline? How much money goes to electricity, cable, all of these things? And how much are you making? Put that all on the sheet and then do the math. How much are you paying and how much are you making? Do you know it took her a long time to get that thing back to me? I said, well, what took you so long? She said, I had to do it 3 separate times. I said, well, why'd you have to do it 3 separate times? She says, because every time I did it, it kept telling me I have $2,000 left over after the bills are paid, and I'm not seeing it. $2,000 discretionary, and she had no idea. Okay, so this is why you need to budget, not to restrict yourself, but you need to track your money. Remember those days when you wrote a check and you had to write it down in your check register to keep track of your money? We don't do that anymore. But if we started doing that, we would know how much we're spending. Now, most people hear the word budget, and the first thing that comes to the mind is all the stuff they can't do. Budget doesn't mean that at all. Budget means just tell me what you are doing and track it. All right. If you want to have some fun, you want to go out to dinner, you want to do the things that, just track it. How much are you spending on that? Put it in, just write it. Listen, there are apps that can help you to do that, or you can just get a notebook and write down what you're spending. I guarantee you, once you start doing that, you'll automatically stop. You'll automatically start spending less because you're writing it down. Especially if you put in there in a budget, this is how much I want to spend on me and the family just to have some fun. Here's our budget. Here's our fun budget. Put it in there. Make that one of your bills. I guarantee you'll spend less money. And you'll know how much money you have left over. So track. You have to compute monthly costs. Not only that, but you have to know how much of your budget goes to housing. It should be about 28% of your budget that goes to housing, about 28%. So if the house you want, once you do the numbers, comes to 35% just to make the payment, then you're going to probably start leaving yourself short when it comes to doing maintenance. on the house, because just making the mortgage payment ain't all that ain't all there is. Okay. There is taking care of the house. Good morning, Miss Donna. How are you doing? I see you in here. All right. Let's bring Donna. Got Harry wants to come up to the stage. Let's bring Harry up. And Miss Donna, when I bring you up, I'm going to moderate you so you can help me, because I have to spend too much time looking away from the screen. Invite to speak. All right. We're going to invite Harry up to speak. All right. There we go. Miss Donna, how are you doing this morning? All right. And Harry. All right. Great. Fantastic. Harry, did you have a question?
I'm sorry, Don. I was sharing the room. You know, when I walk into rooms, I share, and that's why I'm always quiet. So note that.
I will do that. I will do that. How are you doing?
All right.
I did have a question. I was in the shower. My bad.
Go ahead, Harry.
So it was about the when you was going over the amortization plan.
Yeah.
So after you pay your first mortgage,
Yeah.
and then you pay the principal, you prepay the principal on line 2.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, what you're saying is, if I pay the principal on line 2,
Mm-hmm.
I eliminate line 2, but in the next month, I still have my mortgage payment would be line 3.
Line 3 will be your next mortgage payment. That's correct.
Okay. See, at first, when I first heard you talking about it, because
Yeah.
it's like my third time listening to it,
Yes.
I just had to make sure that I'm getting it all correctly. I thought you were saying that, like, once I pay the principal, that prepay that principal, then I just don't. I skip out on their monthly payment all in general, altogether. I mean,
No, what you're doing is that you're making it impossible for them to charge you 360 times. You have, because by contract, you have a mortgage payment every single month.
mm-hmm.
You don't have to pay 360 months. We can get you down to where you're only paying about 90 months.
Mm.
You could be done with your mortgage in 90 months. Did you know that?
Well, yeah, from what, like I said, I've been listening to you for a minute now.
But that's what we're talking about, ladies and gentlemen. All right. And so Yete says, because there's no prepayment penalty. Even if there is, I don't care. I don't care about prepayment penalties. Okay. That's another term. I don't know if we'll get a chance to talk about that or not. But anyway, here's where we are, ladies and gentlemen, creating a budget so that you can track your spending. And then when you know what your discretionary income is, okay, let me give you kind of a breakdown of what we need to take care of. First of all, you have your income. Okay. Then we have the next thing on your income. After you get your income, the next thing you need to do is put some money away for your future. Put some money away for your future. Okay. The next thing is pay the minimum payments on your loans. Put money away for the future, pay minimum payments on the loans. The next thing you got to do is pay the rest of the bills. Oh, I take that back. Got to start over. Okay. First thing you do, get paid. All right. Then the first thing you do is figure out how much money you want to spend on the family. Okay. How much money you want to spend on the family? That's the first bill. We want to create memories. We want to have a good time. We don't want to just work and not and not have a good time. All right. So how much of your money do you want to spend on the family? Create a budget for that. All right. The next thing is put money away for savings for the future. The next thing under that, make them you have to make at least the monthly minimum payments on your loans, and then pay the rest of the bills: gasoline, food, insurances, all of those other things. Once you get all that done, that's everything. That's everything. Everything else is discretionary. You've taken care of having some fun with the family. You've taken care of putting away money for the future. You've taken care of making sure that the monthly debt payments are paid, at least the minimum payments. And then the last thing is to pay the rest of the bills. So you got food, you got lights, you got water, cable, all of those other things. Everything that's left over is called discretionary. With that discretionary income, you could literally put some of that money in a savings account, let it build up, and attack your loans from there, putting prepayments from your discretionary, because your entire budget has been taken care of. If your entire budget is taken care of, you can then take some money and do that with it. Now, with our program, we tell you exactly how much to pay and when to pay it, how long to keep it in savings, so you don't keep it in there too long, that you don't keep it in there too short of a time, that you pay the right amount of money so that you can save the maximum amount of interest per dollar. That's what our program does. Okay. So let's create a budget. That's number 5. All right. Number six. We've already talked about it before, but learn the difference between interest rate and interest cost. That is so important. That is so important that you learn the difference between interest rate and interest cost. Okay. Harry, listen, if you can talk, flash your mic, but if you can't, that's okay. All right. All right. So Harry, did you have any other questions? All right. Maybe not. All right. So I'm going to go to before.
Not at the moment.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Before I go on to number 6, learn the difference between interest rate and interest cost. This might help. This might lead into Miss Deidre Hicks' question. What is the difference between making a higher down payment on real estate versus doing a prepayment on your loan? Okay. Let's talk about that, because that's going to lead right into learn the difference between interest rate and interest cost. All right. So let's say I have this same mortgage. I got this same mortgage and I want to put $150,000 down. All right. If I put $150,000 down on this mortgage, then I have a mortgage of $150,000 at 6% for 30 years. And I get a new payment. My payment now is $899.33. So I've used $50,000, Miss Deidre, to lower my payment. I have a payment now of $899.33 versus a payment of $1199.10. Also, the total interest that the bank wants, not that I'm going to pay though, the total interest that the bank wants is $231,000. If I put $50,000 down, they want $173,000. Okay, 173 versus 231. So that's kind of the benefit of using your money as a down payment, so that you can get a $150,000 loan. So if I have a $150,000 loan, do I start out on payment number 1 to pay that back? The answer is yes. Payment number 1. But my question to anybody would be, Deidre says, yes, I'm listening. Do you want a lower mortgage payment, or do you need a lower mortgage payment? Because it matters. Do you want a lower mortgage payment, or do you need one? Okay. If you just want one and you can afford the higher mortgage payment, don't put a large payment down. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't ever do it. And here is why. Here's why. Okay. So I want a $150,000 mortgage, but I'm saying get your $200,000 mortgage. And if I start out, Miss Deidre, if I start out with a $200,000 mortgage and I was going to put $50,000 down, do I still have my 50 grand? Do I still have it? Is it still in the bank? Is it still in my shoebox, wherever I have it? Do I still have it? The answer is yes, I still have it. So if you were going to do it as a down payment and I still have the $50,000, can I do it now? She says, yes. She says, yes. Can I now do it as a prepayment? So Deidre, could I take that 50 grand and add it to principal now with my first payment? Could I do that? This is why I need you all to start using Brett Whistle, so you can do easily what would happen if you put $50,000 down? Go to cumulative principal and then scroll down to $50,000 or thereabouts. So we're scrolling down to $50,000 as a total principal paid. Boom. That takes us to line 164 on the amortization schedule. I still have a $150,000 loan, but I'm not starting out on payment number one. I'm starting out, I made my very first payment, and my next payment is going to be all the way down on line 164 of this amortization schedule. Guess what just happened? Between line 2 and line 163, I skipped all of those interest payments I never have to pay. I just skipped them. All right. And on a 30-year loan, here we go. On a 30-year loan, boom, boom, boom. Let's bring it up. Okay. I'm down to, I've just skipped out on 163 payments. 163 payments I never have to make. Divide that by 12. I've just taken that $50,000, Miss Deidre, and I've knocked 13 and a half years off this loan already on a 30-year loan. If I put it as a down payment, I start out on payment number one for my $150,000. The same $50,000 does way more work for you after you establish the loan than before you establish the loan. Has anybody ever heard this before? Man, oh man. Miss Deidre, does that answer your question? Put a yes or a no in the chat, or if you have, if that's not clear, let me know. She says, incredibly powerful concept. That's what Miss Deidre says. All right. All right. Do I have any other? All right. No, nothing else in the chat on Clubhouse. So now having a budget is going to help you to determine how much house you can buy. Having a budget is going to help you to determine taking care of the maintenance issues on the house. Having a budget just helps you to spend your money wisely. It doesn't restrict you from anything. It doesn't keep you from having fun. It makes sure you get to do everything you want to do when you have a budget. So make sure you get that budget. That's number six. Okay. Number 6, learn the difference between interest rate and interest cost. We just went over that. Now, can I give you another example of interest rate and interest cost? I brought on a new client. I brought on a new client, everybody. And guess what? This client has some credit cards at 0% interest. They have some credit cards at 0% interest. And so what he told me was, I'm going to increase. You're welcome, Miss Deidre. He says, I want to increase my monthly payment so that I can pay this off before the 12 months are up. How many of you do that? Put a number 7 in the chat. If you get a 0% credit card, all right, did I just shoot? Oh man, I think I just turned everybody off. Oh, good. All right, thank you. Thank you, Miss Donna. I eliminated myself from my own room. I'm glad I had you.
What happened, Nice?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm trying to see who's in the chat and stuff. And I eliminated myself from my room. How about that? But I'm back. I'm glad I had you moderated, because then the room would have just been gone. I couldn't get it back. So what was I talking about? Shoot, I got messed up. Learn the difference interest rate and interest cost is what we're talking about. Okay. So I scared myself. Now I forgot where I was. I got a guy. I just brought on a new client. And he wants to pay off his 0% credit card before the 12 months are up. If you are like that, if that is something that you do, put a number 7 in the chat. Put a number 7 in the chat if you like to get those 0% credit cards, but you pay it off before the 12 months are up. Okay. All right. And the YouTube channel is still on. That we didn't mess that up. I didn't mess that up. Okay. The YouTube channel is still on. All right. All right. Good. So put a number 7 in the chat if that's what you guys do. I get this 0% card. I just want to pay it off so that I don't get to, so they can't charge me interest on that credit card. Do you guys do that? Okay. Talk to me. Let me know. Put a number 7. Okay. Oh my goodness. I was muted that whole time. Oh my gosh. All right. Thank you, folks. For letting me know. So let me ask the question again. So I got a guy who's paying off his mortgage. I'm sorry. He's got a credit card at 0% interest, and he wants to pay it off before the 12 months is up. So he pays so he doesn't have to pay the accrued interest on that card. If that's something that you guys do, put a number 7 in the chat. Or if you know somebody else who does it, put a number 7 in the chat. Thank you, Inyate. Okay. Go ahead and put a number 7 in the chat. Deidre Hicks says 7. Want to pay those cards off before that time is up. Okay. All right. Flame is here today. Flame is here. All right. Let's bring Flame up. Okay. Bring Flame up for me. At least invite him up. Let me see. Let's see if we can get him to come up. Boom. All right. Invite to speak. All right. So Flame, how are you doing, sir?
Good morning. How you doing?
Excellent, man. Today we're talking about 7 things you must do in getting a new mortgage. Sunday we talked about 7 things you must not do. So you want to check that one out too. Check out Sunday's replay on YouTube. 7 things you should not do. You should never do when getting a new mortgage. These are 7 things you should do. All right. And Flame, here's what we've talked about so far. All right. Number 1, get pre-approved. All right. Number 2, learn proper mortgage terms. We talked about that. Number 3, learn how to read an amortization schedule. Number 4, learn how to compute monthly interest cost. And number 5, create a budget for tracking, not restricting yourself. All right. Number 5. And number 6, we're learning the difference between interest rate and interest cost. That's where we are right now. So what's going on with you, sir? Flame?
Man, just glad to be here, man. Learning these 7 things, man, is surely take you to the next level. Thank you for what you do.
Listen, thank you so much, Flame. Thank you so much. Flame is a rock star, a absolute expert on obtaining personal credit and business credit. In fact, he's got 2 books out. Are both your books now in Spanish?
No, the second one hasn't. The second one hasn't been in Spanish yet.
Okay. All right. So he's got 2 books out. You want to check those out? Tell us the name of your books, Flame, so folks can take a look at your bio and get your books.
It's the School of Credit, the School of Credit, and it's Learn and Master series. So the first one is Learn and Master the 12 Steps of the American Credit System, and the second one is Learn and Master the 8 levels of the business credit system. So those are both of them.
Okay. Hey, Flame, how much of what you teach is taught in schools?
Man, very little. I'll tell you that much. So it's gotten to the point that where you have a target audience and you have a target person that you shoot for when you're talking. But as of lately, my 2 most my 2 biggest clients as of late has been educators and Uber drivers. So those are the two people that have been targeted lately in so much a way. So educators are trying to get educated on this stuff.
Come on, man. Thank you so much for being here and for what you do. All right. So now we talked about people who are paying off these cards. All right. So I asked the guy, I said, now you've got this card, you want to pay it off. I said, why? He says, because if I don't, I'm going to pay this accrued interest. I said, but you have a mortgage here. I need you to see how much your mortgage payment is every single month. And this guy had a $350,000 mortgage, a $350,000 mortgage at 6%. Okay, 360 months. Okay, payment is this. Okay. All right, I got too many zeros. Hold on. Now, if you're using Brett Whistle, if you make a mistake, you have to remove one of the numbers before you recalculate, or you're going to get a balloon payment. So I took out the payment. I'm going to recalculate so I get the proper payment, $2,098.43. So that's his payment, which is good. All right. But he's trying to pay off that credit card. All right. I think he owes about, if I'm not mistaken, about $10,000 on it. He owes about $10,000 on that credit card. And he wants to pay it off before 1 year so he doesn't get hit with 1 year's worth of interest on that card. Okay. But I told him, I said, while you're trying to pay off that card, how much interest does it cost you right now? Because here's the interest rate on the card. The interest rate on the card was 15%. All right. The reason I need you to know the difference between interest rate and interest cost, his interest rate is 15% eventually. But what is his interest cost right now? In these 12 months, what is his interest cost each month? I need you all to talk to me or put it in the chat. How much is his interest cost right now? Anybody? Come on, talk to me. Put in the chat. How much is his interest cost right now? He's got a 0% interest card, but it's eventually going to be 15%. But what is his interest cost right now? Flame, I can't get anybody to talk to me. Donna, I can't get anybody to talk to me.
Man, that's how it goes, man. Sometimes, man, it's early morning, man. We got to wake it up for the room
All
this
right.
morning. Because
Here they come now. The interest cost right now is 0. So I asked him, if you're paying back a loan that's 0 cost right now, does that mean that this is free money right now? Is it free money right now? He said, well, yeah, it's free right now, but it's not going to always be free. But I said, it's free right now. He says, yes. I said, do you have loans right now that are not free, that are charging you every single month? Your mortgage payment, your car payment, the other credit cards. Do you have loans that are charging you right now? He said, yes. I said, then if you have loans that are charging you right now, why are you focused on paying off the one that's free? Flame, does that make sense?
not at all.
Why are you paying off the one that's free when you could be putting, listen, if you owe $10,000 and you're trying to pay that off quickly, you put $10,000 on your mortgage. Do you realize you knock over 2 years off your loan and save yourself $44,000 in interest? He says, I never realized that. I said, because you're focusing on the interest rate of 15%, but you're not focused on the interest cost right now, which is 0. And the interest cost on your other loans, which could be significant. So here's my question. How much interest, if you don't pay this loan off in 12 months, how much interest are they going to charge you? What do you think his answer was? How much interest are they trying to charge you? If you don't pay it off, in time, how much interest you're going to charge you if you don't pay that credit card off in time? So you're not going to, in month 13, you're supposed to have it paid off in 12, but in month 13, you don't have it paid off. How much interest are they going to charge you? You don't have it paid off in month 13. He says, I don't know. What? What? So 15% of the balance. Right. But you don't know. But when I asked him how much it was, he says, I don't know. So he's trying to avoid paying an amount of money. He had no idea how much that was. Are you guys following me? So if I have $10,000, all right, I'm going to put a new thing up here. Okay, I got a $10,000 credit card. I got 15%. All right, 15%. At 200, I got to put this in at 240. There we go. My first interest payment for the month is $125. $125. So if I don't pay that off, okay, so that's my interest for the month, okay, $125. So they're going to hit me with a charge times 12, $1,500. They're going to hit me with a charge of $1,500. That's what he's trying to avoid, but he didn't know what he was trying to avoid. Okay? Now, I need you all to listen to me carefully. I am not saying he should not pay it off. What I am saying, he should be strategic about paying it off. Watch this. He's trying to pay it off to avoid $1,500. But what if he doesn't? He's going to have to pay them $1,500. But if he takes that $10,000 and puts it on his mortgage instead, he knocks off over 2 years, saves $44,000 in interest he doesn't have to pay on his mortgage. So now I turn the question around. Flame, would you pay $1,500 to anybody if it would save you $45,000 in interest on your mortgage? Would you pay $1,500 to somebody?
All day long, I would pay it.
All day long.
$45,000. I'm paying $1,500.
There you go. All day. So we get so focused, we get so narrowly focused on something, on the tree, we can't see the doggone forest. This is what we're being taught. So you need to know the difference between interest rate and interest cost, and don't let it fool you into making huge mistakes, because that's what we've been doing for years. Somebody's making a lot of money on this thing. Somebody's going to make $45,000 off of me because I'm trying to keep from paying $1,500. Folks, does this make sense to you? Does this make sense to you, what we're talking about? You need to know the difference between interest rate and interest cost. We have 15 minutes left in this thing. And the last thing, now that you know everything, on Sunday's class, we talked about how much 7 things you should never do. Today, we talked about 7 things you should do. Let's recap. Number 1, get pre-approved. Number 2, learn proper mortgage terms. Number 3, learn how to read an amortization schedule. Number 4, learn how to compute monthly interest cost. Very important to you. Got to do that. All right. Number 5, create a budget for tracking, not for restricting. Okay. For tracking, not for restricting. Number 6, learn the difference between interest rate and interest cost. And we gave you several examples of that. Okay. Interest cost is what's important. Interest rate has always been a liar. Interest rate is a liar because when you take a look at the interest rate, they're not calculating based on that. They're using a whole different calculation that makes them a lot more money. So you want to know, how much money is it actually costing me when I take a look at this thing? How much money is it actually costing me? Interest rate, interest cost. Okay, that's number 6. Number 7, here it is. Hire somebody who can advocate for you when you're getting a mortgage. Hire someone who knows the game, that can sit there with you either at your closing or during that process, or be on the phone with you to guide you through the process. Because, ladies and gentlemen, one of the things that we talked about that you never do in Sunday's show was never let people who are selling you a loan educate you on how it works. Does that make sense? Do not let people who are or selling you a loan educate you on the process. You need an advocate that is going to speak up for you and tell you that's that's a trap. Oop, watch out for that ditch. Oops, that's a minefield. All right, don't step on that. Don't go in that direction. You know, like when you in a scary movie, when you hear a noise in the basement, Flame. Scary movie, hear a noise in the basement, and everybody is screaming at the screen, don't go down there. So I'm going to tell you, don't go there. So if you were to hire the P.I.L.L method to help you navigate this landscape, we've given you 14 things to do and things not to do. All right, that you can watch over and over and over again. But do you know that each one of these 14 things, I could do a 2-hour show on each one because I could not cover it all? There is more going on here than meets the eye. If you want to know, have somebody on your side that is a coach for you, teaching you these things and helping you to get out of debt in 7 to 9 years, hire us as your advocate. I'm going to put it at the top of the page. We're talking about ICE. We're going to put it at ice10k.com. Okay. ice10k.com. All right. Where is it? Pinned link. There we go. Take this one out. Put ICE 10k.com. There we go. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Click on that link. And once you click on that link, go to where it says get a savings and earnings report. And then you can know how to get your know how much interest to pay on these things, when you can be out of debt. You can know all of that. But on top of that, you can call the number there for our office and says, listen, I'm getting a mortgage. And I just need somebody to advocate for me. I just need somebody to keep me from making huge mistakes, from buying down the rate, from putting a large down payment down when I don't need to, from doing all these other things that we don't need to do. All right. So if you want to understand the 7 things you don't need to do that we had on Sundays, and the 7 things that you need to do that we went over today, and you need an advocate for you, this is one place. I've been studying this for 18 years. 18 years. Listen, I just need to know if you have any questions or comments about what you've learned today. Miss Donna, how are you doing today? I don't know if you can talk to us. All right. And any of the moderators and the folks on the stage, what is your take on what we've talked about today? And do you have anything to add? It was something I left out.
Well, I'll be the
I'm
one.
here.
Okay. Go ahead, Flame.
No, it's always women. It's always ladies first. Come
Okay. Come on, Donna.
Thank you, Flame. Yes, Mr. Ice, it is important for us to understand interest cost. And, too many of us run away with, being shy that, oh, the interest rate is so high. I can't buy a house, or, it's easier to refinance, to take money out. And it's based on a lot of things that, they hear on the app, or just in in their environment day to day, because the media hypes this interest rate. And, just sitting down and listen how basic it is, how easy it is to think about the cost of borrowing that money, because that's all it is. How much it is to borrow this money? How much am I going to pay to borrow this money? What is going to cost me? And if we start to look at that, don't follow these people that are saying, oh, why do you need to pay off your loan? Why do you need to pay off your mortgage? But think about the savings that you are going to be saving over time. You can do so much with that money. And as you clearly always say, Ice, is that we put these money in our bank account and it's there for incidentals. And we ain't getting anything on it. And it's sitting there and it's accumulating. And the bank is just using our money to loan it out to other people while we're getting nothing. And we're still paying this high, very high interest cost. So again, I want to thank you for what you do on this app and just continue. As much as I'm here, I'm doing feeding. So basically, I'll always support when I can. Thank you for what you do, I.
And thank you, Daniel. Agnete, were you trying to unmic as well?
No, but I will. I will say, you said, what's the takeaway? I just
Yeah, what's your
feel,
takeaway?
as a real estate professional, it's always helpful to be resourceful to any purchaser, because I do work with a lot of buyers, and I do think that it's not all about just showing you the bathroom, the bedroom, the backyard. It's more of showing you what this looks like on paper and what you're committing to. And so I appreciate highlighting a lot of these points that the average person is not having a conversation about. And it goes down to the loan estimate. These lenders are giving people the information black and white and bold, and no one's reading it because no one's understanding it. So I appreciate just sowing the seed to start having more conversations like this with more buyers.
Well, thank you very much.
And you've shown how it is an asset, because there are conversations that say, oh, getting a mortgage is not an asset, it's not an investment. But if you know how to use your tools, then of course it can be just that. So thank you for the info.
You are so welcome. So, Flame, what's your takeaway? I got a few minutes left, a couple of minutes left. Because we talk all the time. We talk all the time. What are you getting out of this? Thank you, sir.
Man, this is what I wanted to tell you from the jump is the mere fact that your education is through the roof. And being able to not just enlighten the people with like an ooh and ah moment, but to being able to break down and explain the why. Right? You explain, you break down. We learn things as an adolescence, as a youth. But as we get older, I think we shy away from. But as in some retrospects, we even go closer to, and that is like the who, what, when, where, how, that type scenario, or the questions about what to ask. But you break it down to so much a minute level that you can um, relate to the common person if they just stop and ignore all of the outside measurements that go along. So for that alone, that's the reason that I want to make sure that you get your kudos for that, is because when you started talking about the interest rate and the interest cost and the verses between it, I don't think there's a person in here that cannot appreciate that particular part, because those things are not explained very well to individuals. And kind of like when you always state off from the beginning, is that a lot of the questions that we look to get answered cannot be, but the people that we're looking to answer them don't know the answers. So therefore, they're basing answers off of what they're hearing about what they're saying, but they actually just don't know. And for you to break it down in such a way about saying everything, not even from the stuff that you talked about today, but just overall, even when you start talking about, hey, a higher interest rate is better than a lower interest rate, or a longer term is better than a shorter term. Or, even when you start talking about today about the interest rate versus the interest cost, and we can have those measurements that's in us, I think overall that can help expand this generational wealth, passing down properties and that sort of thing, and understand. But listen, I can't say enough about you, and I appreciate you, and I thank you wholeheartedly for what you've been able to do. But as you know, man, I can't get out of here without making sure that you know this. We appreciate you. Okay.
Thank you, Flame. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, we got to get out of here. Everybody on Clubhouse, hang out. All right. I'm going to do just going to recap some stuff, and I'm going to spend a few minutes with you guys on Clubhouse, but we got to let everybody online go. But here's what you need. Get a savings and earnings report. Click on us so that you can click on ice10k.com, get a savings and earnings report. Know the month, day, and year you can be debt free. When you put your cell phone number in to get it verified, make sure there's no spaces. Okay. And then we will get back with you with that information so that you can know when you're going to be debt free, and we'll set you up for a consultation. Number 2, get the book. Get the book. All right. It's the only book on Amazon that tells you how all of this starts to work. All right. Give you some idea on what you can teach your children. Get the book. And then become an affiliate. Somebody already filled out how to become an affiliate from the same card. Become an affiliate today. All right. So our last thing we're going to be doing is hearing from Dr. Eric Thomas, and we're going to say goodbye until Friday. But if you're here on Clubhouse, I'm going to come right back after we hear from Eric Thomas. And when our theme music goes off, I'll be right back here, and we're going to wrap it all up here on Clubhouse. Thank you so much, everyone. And we will see you on Friday.
Listen to me, y'all. But one of his mentees took us through one of their programs, and I paid off my mortgage. But guess what happened? My marriage went to a whole nother level. And you know why? Because my wife is a security freak. And even when I blew up, my wife would be like, oh, you blew up, but how long is you gonna keep making this kind of money? I was like, I don't know, forever. She's like, you sure? Because I'm gonna keep my license as a nurse just in case you don't. So when I paid the house off, my boy was like, you ain't gotta do that, you can do this. But when I paid the house off using that program, it took the stress level all the way down from my wife because we no longer had a mortgage. Does that make sense? That thing that was coming every month, that was getting on her nerves, we didn't have that no more. And so she was at rest.